We've been running this event now annually for a number of years, and it's really all inspired by Terry Pratchett's close relationship and ties to Trinity College Dublin. So we can see Sir Terry here on the far right-hand side, pictured next to David Attenborough. This is when he was receiving his honorary doctorate in literature back in 2008. So for those of you that may be familiar with the Discworld series, you'll know that Pratchett himself was kind of renowned for satirizing university lifestyle, with the unseen university quite often thought of as a parody of both Oxford and Cambridge universities. And then in 2010, Terry Pratchett himself took up an adjunct professorship here in the School of English. Rather ironic, he probably touched on this irony during his opening address to the college, where he states, "Until recently, I couldn't even spell academic, and now I are one." So Terry, of course, is most renowned for his famous comic fantasy novel series, the Discworld series, which began back in 1983. Since then, over 41 novels have been published in the series, selling 80 million copies worldwide. This is a feat that would actually go on to make him the UK's best-selling author, even earning him an OBE in 98 and then a knighthood 10 years later in 2008. Some may not be familiar with the fact that he was then diagnosed with a rare form of Alzheimer's disease known as posterior cortical atrophy back in 2007, where patients typically show difficulties with their visual perception and visual acuity before other typical symptoms manifest themselves. Terry almost straight away decided to document his journey with illness in his 2009 BBC documentary series, Living with Alzheimer's, which when first aired was viewed by over 3 million people and really became a beacon of hope for Alzheimer's disease sufferers, patients, or sort of carers and their families alike. But in particular, Terry Pratchett really wanted to change the language that we use around dementia in society today. He felt that other illnesses like cancer, for example, were associated with more stoic terms like bravery and battling. And he really encouraged other Alzheimer's sufferers to stand up to their diagnoses and face them head on, even being quoted as saying, "Before you can kill a demon, you have to be able to say its name. There should be no shame in having it, yet people still don't talk about it." So this brings me on to what these nights in this project really are all about. Apart from the fundamental research that I do in the lab, a huge component of this project is to try and combine the talents of Trinity's Neuroscience Institute, the Global Brain Health Institute with their expertise in brain health and patient care, with the innovative Pratchett Project here run by the Trinity Centre for Literary and Cultural Translation, with the aim of not only promoting Terry Pratchett's passion for Alzheimer's disease treatment research, but also to encourage a more open forum and open discourse around dementia in society, hopefully dismantling any societal taboo that it still carries today. So here we can see the cover of the 37th novel in the Discworld series, The Unseen Academicals, published in 2009 during the midst of Terry's Alzheimer's disease diagnosis. Focuses on the story of Mustrum Ridcully, who is the head of the Unseen University, in his attempts to curate a university football team from a series of wizards from Ankh-Morpork coming together with diverse talents. We really ran with this concept. I wanted to replicate the Unseen Academicals in showcasing how we can take an interdisciplinary approach to tackle dementia and also to further promote dementia awareness in society. This then leads me on to tonight's program, where we will kick things off with the cutting edge, which really lauds some of the amazing research into dementia and brain health that is done between Trinity College and the Global Brain Health Institute here. In previous years, we've been blessed to be joined by some scientists and clinicians who really are on the frontiers of neuroscientific research. And this year is no less, as we're going to be joined by Professors Matthew Campbell and Sean Kennelly. So Matthew Campbell leads a neurovascular genetics lab and is currently head of department with the Smurfit Institute of Genetics here in Trinity. Today he's going to talk us through a little bit about the role of traumatic brain injury and concussion in neurodegeneration and the generation of Alzheimer's disease. Professor Sean Kennelly is a consultant physician in both geriatric and stroke medicine, and he's currently serving a role as co-lead investigator on a newly launched clinical trials network called Dementia Trials Ireland, which really aims to facilitate much greater access to clinical trials for dementia patients across the country. We will then move into part two this evening, which is our Living with Dementia section. which really now moves away from the labs and the clinic and focuses on how we can take an interdisciplinary approach and tackle dementia through public awareness, the arts, and generation of support networks. So this section will be led out by Professor James Hadley, who's the director here for the Trinity Centre of Literary and Cultural Translation, and is currently the coordinator for the Pratchett Project in Trinity. He's going to talk to us today a little bit about how he's planning to use artificial intelligence to disseminate information about Alzheimer's disease in a far more digestible form through a series of short stories and images, all inspired by Terry Pratchett. We will then be joined up on stage by Fiona Foley and Kevin Quaid. Fiona Foley herself is the Senior Project Manager with the National Dementia Office and is currently responsible for overseeing a national campaign, Dementia Understand Together. And Kevin Quaid, who may be known to many here, will be joined by his wife, Helena, tonight, was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia in 2017, and since then has become a really strong advocate for the illness, even going on to publish 2 books documenting his entire journey. The first, Lewy body dementia, Survival and Me, followed up by I Am Kevin, Not Lewy. So we round things off in part 2 with James Hadley in conversation with the award-winning Irish playwright Deirdre Kinahan, who's a member of AS Donna, Ireland's elected organisation of outstanding artists. And we're really here to celebrate Deirdre's most recent work, a new play titled An Old Song Half Forgotten, which has recently been played on the Peacock stage in the Abbey Theatre. And we're delighted to say tonight that Deirdre will be joined on stage by 2 actors, Matthew Malone and Jonathan White, to actually reenact some scenes from An Old Song Half Forgotten, which I think is a really nice way to round off part 2. And then we will finish up in a really fitting way, I think, diving right back into Pratchett's literature with The Witching Hour, where Dr. Dara Downey and Dr. Jane Carroll will be joined up here by Dr. Yevgenia Kinkura, who's a visiting fellow of the Long Room Hub here and is over from Ukraine. And they're going to take us right back into Discworld, talking through all things witches, magic, and hodology, which I'm sure is really one for all the Pratchett enthusiasts here tonight. So this is our lineup for tonight, and we're really excited, and we hope everyone has a great night and can take something from this. So I'd like to welcome up Professor Matthew Campbell to get us kicked off.